Hello, I'm Ollie and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today my review of a dark redemptive thriller, Blood Standard by Laird Barron. So today a review of this book, Blood Standard by Laird Barron, which was a really excellent, very, very dark, redemptive thriller. I had a great time with this book. Laird Barron is an author I've heard a lot of good things about and someone who I've been meaning to read for a while. He writes this stuff, which is kind of more in the crime line, but also writes some what apparently is really excellent horror, and in particular really good horror short stories. So I'm really looking forward to trying some of his horror short stories soon. This is the first in, I think, a series of 3 books at the moment, featuring a tough guy called Isaiah Coleridge. Apparently, so this one I would definitely call like a crime thriller, but apparently by book 3 there are definite horror elements that start working their way into the stories, and I can see how that could be the case. There's a real darkness to this book, despite the fact that it's a crime book. There is a definite darkness to it, and there's lots of references to like mythology and things like that. And I can see how that would lend itself well to more of a horror story. So anyway, let me tell you what this is about and tell you why I liked it quite as much as I did. So it's about this guy, as I said, called Isaiah Coleridge, who is biracial. So he's half Caucasian and half Maori. And he comes with a load of baggage. His dad was an absolute bastard to him. And he's grown up kind of being brutalised, really. And that brutality that was inflicted upon him, he now inflicts on other people. So he is an enforcer for the mafia. He lives in Alaska and carries out the whims of the local mafia there. But something happens that kind of changes him a bit. He falls out of favour with the mafia guys there after reacting to something that they are doing in a scene which I thought was really phenomenally well written. He kind of flips and decides enough is enough. I'm not going to be involved with these guys anymore. So he gets exiled. He manages to keep his life, but he gets exiled from Alaska and ends up going to upstate New York. So stays on a farm to kind of recuperate after having had quite a beating, to recuperate and get himself back together again. He stays on this farm with a nice elderly couple. And whilst he's there, a local girl goes missing and he decides he's going to investigate her disappearance. And that really what the book is what the book is about. It's a mystery novel that follows him trying to find out what has happened to this girl and to rescue her. And he gets involved in kind of the underbelly of local society with the kind of the local underworld. There's a group of mercenaries who are there who are like really, really, really dodgy, who he investigates. So there's a load of different things going on in this book. There's a great mystery story running through the heart of it, but there's also some really, really good action sequences. So Isaiah is a big guy and he's not afraid to use his fists to solve problems, but he's also really, really smart. So you do see that intelligence as he progresses through the book, as well as he tries to solve this mystery. In some ways he reminded me of Jack Reacher. So he's that similar mix of kind of brawn and brain, but the difference with Isaiah is whilst Reacher is kind of whiter than white in many ways, he just feels like a stereotypical hero. Isaiah definitely has a lot more baggage, a lot more nasty stuff in his past. So he's a more interesting, more complex character than Jack Reacher is, and definitely the kind of hero that I enjoy reading about. So, as I say, a really good mystery, loads of action, but it was really the prose and the writing and the descriptiveness of this book that made it stand out for me. So Laird Barron's prose is a bit more ornate than you normally get in this kind of book, and sometimes that can turn me off. There are definitely bits in this book where I would say the writing is in that kind of hard-boiled style, but he's also got a wonderful way of describing, like landscapes and scenery and places that brings a real richness to his, to the book as a whole. And there's also just this real sense of wildness running throughout the book that I thought was fantastic. So both in the character of Isaiah, who, as I say, is this tough guy with a bad past, with a lot of anger inside him, and it often feels like he's barely able to contain all of that. But also in the people he meets, there's a lot of darkness in many of the people that he meets, and this sense of just criminality running through everything, but also a wildness to the landscape. So in particular the early part of the book, which takes place in Alaska, a very, very wild landscape, but also in in upstate New York, there's a kind of a desolation to the area that he's living in. And also this sense, which really struck me as a British person reading this book, of just the size of America. Alaska is huge, America is huge, New York State is huge. Those are all places that are, to my mind, unfathomably big almost. And you really get a sense of that scale of the states as a country in this book. So there's a wildness there as well, this sense that there are parts of America that human beings hardly ever go to, which are wild and dangerous as a result of that. And that's something that living in the UK I'm just not really used to. It reminded me that sense of like the scale of the country and the fact that there are parts of the country that are just so far away from civilization reminded me quite a lot of Cormac McCarthy and his writing. Now I've liked some of Cormac McCarthy's books. I'm definitely not what I would call a Cormac McCarthy fanboy, but he did have a great way of writing about America as a country, both a geographical place, a geological place, and a container of human beings, if you like. So about writing about the American way of life in that kind of wild environment. And I think Laird Barron manages to do something similar in this book. Now it's a much more of a plot driven book than Cormac McCarthy's books tend to be, and more of the book that I tend to really enjoy. But yeah, if I was to sum it up in one sentence, it would be Jack Reacher, written by Cormac McCarthy. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you've read Laird Barron, let me know what you think of him. In particular, give me some horror recommendations from him, please. Anyway, I will leave it there as always and say thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.